Probably had nothing you
Nothing.
needed.
I have
Yeah.
nothing.
That's
I forgot my computer bag.
Good evening. This is the beginning of our city council here on Tuesday, February 13th, 2018. Welcome, council, and we are excusing John Mark Knight, who's away this week. We appreciate also those who are here to observe the council, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you. We will begin by having the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll ask Parker Tennant if he will come up here and lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance. By the way, I know about how hard this is, Parker. I had to do it up at the legislature at the Capitol the other day. I had to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So now we've both done it. Okay, come on.
Repeat after me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect, Parker. Thank you very much. We've asked Lloyd Campbell, from lives up in the Mueller Park area and is on the High Council of that stake, to offer a prayer for us this evening. Thanks, Lloyd, for being here.
Our dear kind Father in heaven, as we gather before thee in the capacity of this City Council of Bountiful this evening, we offer our thanks for the opportunities we have to live in this beautiful land of freedom, and for the sacrifices of all those that have given their all so that we can enjoy this freedom. Lord, we pray that thy Spirit will bless all of those who are in attendance this night and those who are on our council, that they'll be able to be inspired, guided, and directed this evening. Please bless those members of our community who are serving in the military and armed forces throughout the world, that they'll be blessed, guided, and directed, and kept safe. We also pray for our magnificent, bountiful police force and pray that they'll be kept safe and as they go out about their duties in these world as trying times. Lord, we love thee. We give you thanks for all that thou hast blessed each of us with. We pray that thy Spirit will continue to be upon us now in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thanks again, Mr. Campbell. Just by way of note for maybe some of you who have come for items 11 and 12 on the agenda, we have postponed the public hearing on downtown zone changes. And 12 is a public hearing, has also been postponed on a text amendment for sub-zone names for single-family residential zones. So those will be done at a later time. If you've come for those, we just want you to not have to wait through the agenda. This is time for our public comment period. This is a 10 minutes time frame at the beginning or near the beginning of our city council. For those who would like to come up and take 2 minutes or less and express themselves about something with the city. It may very well be that we refer you to, and mostly we do this, is refer you to the staff to answer those questions later that you might have. But if you'll keep this to less than 2 minutes, we'd appreciate it. The time is now yours. I think the scouts are trying to get talked into coming up and saying something, but I don't know if that's going to happen. All right. Well, we'll proceed with our agenda then. Appreciate all of you being here. But remember, if you have an issue and you have something you'd like to say to the council, be sure you know that each time that we have city council, this is available to you, this public comment time. I'll look for a motion If there are no additions or corrections to the minutes of our previous meeting, January 23rd, 2018.
Happy to make a motion that we approve the minutes as printed.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And we'll do a youth council report from you,
Great.
Kendallin.
Thanks. Stratton Tidwell and Carrie Bounce are here from the Youth Council, so let's turn the time over to them, and they'll give us an update of what's going on.
So a couple of us on BCYC are headed up to USU to get leadership for a leadership conference to learn leadership skills in March.
And also at the end of March, we're preparing for the Easter egg hunt at the Bountiful City Park. So that'll be fun.
So I just want to thank Stratty and Carrie for coming and reporting tonight. These are two of our fine members of our Youth Council, and I appreciate you guys coming tonight. Thanks a lot.
Yep, thank you. Kendall, and I've heard a lot of good things about that leadership at USU. I hear from other mayors about their youth council representatives going, so that's great. Have we done that in the past?
Yeah, and it's too bad because this year we had such interest with the Youth Council going to the leadership conference that we could only let juniors and seniors go, but the hope is that in next year the sophomores will move up and then they'll be able to attend. So I kind of felt bad that not everyone could go, but it's good. It's a good opportunity for our Youth Council.
Thank you, and we'll just stay right with you, Kendallin, for any council report that you may have.
Thanks. I don't have anything to report.
Good, and Chris?
Mayor, I'd like to report on the Bountiful Community Service Council. I had the privilege last Saturday of meeting with them. There are probably 15 very enthused Bountiful citizens that are on that council. I learned a lot about CERT and the readiness that this city has as far as preparing for an emergency. Citizens Emergency Response Team is what CERT is. Very impressed how well it's organized. I had the opportunity of spending a little time with individuals that are ham radio operators and how they communicate within each other within the city. And I'm very impressed with the way the council, the Service Council, participates with the food pantry. I'd just like to say if there's someone that's really willing and interested to participate at the food pantry, and there's a number of different opportunities you can go. I've taken my grandchildren to the food pantry. Very eye-opening, very, very eye-opening. And they have lots of opportunity for service. And it's a good opportunity, and I was very, very impressed, Mayor, with the enthusiasm and the service by this council. The upcoming Music in the Park has been pretty well set, and I think we've got some great talent, and I hope you take advantage of coming to the park this summer and listening to the concerts. It's a great opportunity to hear individuals participate and mingle in the city, and so I'm just very impressed with our Community Service Council.
I would expect probably Richard Watson will come and report on all of those reservations here
Yes, he will be
soon.
able to
Doesn't he usually do that, Beth, as if I
He
recall?
does, yes.
Thank you, Chris. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, please, Beth.
I don't have any council reports at this time, thank you, unless you wanted me to talk about. I don't think so.
I think
want me
generally
to?
it might be nice just to, take a minute or two and just talk to us about, Beth is the president of the Utah League of Cities and Towns. I think there's 247 or 248. I keep hearing different numbers. 247, 248 cities and towns in the state of Utah. And that league, I don't know if there's a more important lobby group for cities or maybe anyone.
agree.
And she is the president this year, so we're really proud of her.
So I'll just talk about what we did last week. So each state has a executive director of their league and a president of their league. So the president is usually an elected official, and then the executive director is the executive director long term. And So all the states got together last week and went to Washington, D.C. to lobby for infrastructure. One of the key components of infrastructure that we feel is really valuable is not just simply the roads and bridges and waterways, but also the broadband opportunities. One of the things that we want to continue to be able to offer is for anybody who works out of their home or anybody who needs internet in general, whether it's a business, whatever, that access to good broadband is of value to them. And of course, I don't have to explain what the value of roads are, or water or sewer or power lines for that matter. And what we basically do is lobby each of our congressional leadership, but we, in addition to just doing the Utah, we also did, I also was paired with other western states, and we spoke with their elected officials, their congressional delegates, or their congressional representatives as well. Now, this is a really good opportunity. We all know that there's an infrastructure bill that was announced on Monday, and that's part of that effort, and it's going to be valuable for Utah as well as the United States. And then locally, we do obviously look out for cities' interests on Capitol Hill during the legislative session, and we discuss bills. And in fact, in our work session, we discussed some bills that were of a priority to make sure that cities are being having an opportunity to have a seat at the table at all times and be involved in the legislative process. So that's kind of a quick overview. But if there's ever any questions, I'm always happy to answer them. Although, as you can hear, my voice sometimes will fluctuate. Depends. At the end of this session, I hope to actually still be able to talk.
Yes, she's been very busy. So, Richard.
Nothing tonight. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. We will then consider approval of our weekly expenditures that are greater than $1,000 that were paid in January 15th, 22nd, and 29th, 2018, and also consider the approval of our December 2017 financial report. If there are no questions, I would ask for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion to approve of those weekly expenditures and the financial
And a
report.
second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is approved. Thank you. We're going to turn some time over now to Brock Hill for item number 7. Thanks, Brock.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Appreciate your time tonight. I bring before you the purchase of picnic tables at Creekside Park. And maybe just to give you a little bit of background on Creekside Park, I can proudly announce that it's substantially complete, and we're currently in the grow-in period of that park, and look to open that park in April with a grand opening to the public, and then obviously in May the pavilion will be available for reservations, and those are ongoing right now. We're taking reservations in that park right now for the pavilion. Are there any questions about the calendar or how this process has gone over the last several years?
No,
Thank
but it
you.
was sure fun to read the recounting of that schedule.
Yeah, it's been a long process, and
Yeah.
so it's good to finally see that to come to
great.
fruition.
Thanks for putting that together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
During the design process that was going on, we realized and soon came to a knowledge that the construction costs were high, thanks to the robust economy in Utah, and we knew that the budget was going to be tight. So in that process of going through that budget and wanting to make sure that we got the majority of the park build and using the tax dollars that were available to us through the RAP tax, we used those in a proper way. We took some of the amenities out of that, and one of those was the picnic tables. But after construction's been completed, we know where we are in the budget. We know that there's money in the budget to buy picnic tables. So this is why this is coming before you tonight. In our research, we looked to our local distributors. Those local distributors don't carry the product that we were after. We feel like because of the uniqueness of this park and the design elements that are in the park, that we needed a picnic table that matched that color design and feel of the park. And so we looked for something that better matched those criteria. We found a company in Denver. It's called Maglan Site Furniture that has a table, and I think the design is there in your packet, so you had a chance to look at that. We feel that this table most represents the feel and design of the park. We were able to negotiate a contract for 20 tables to be purchased from Maglan Site Furniture for the price of $52,980. This includes a 10% discount. They come assembled, and that also includes the delivery of those picnic tables too. We'll receive them at the shop because they'll be delivered before we're ready for the park, and then we'll, as staff, make sure that they make it to the park on time. This allows 12 tables to be placed in the main pavilion. That's about as many as the pavilion will hold comfortably. We know we can get more in there, but it doesn't make sense to cram a whole bunch in there. So we're planning on 12 in the main pavilion, 2 in each of the outlying smaller pavilions. There's 3 of those, as you're aware. 1 at the east end of the trail, and 1 on the south side of the creek in the grass area, just to give people other options. With the start of the pavilion rental season upon us, we feel like it's obviously important to have tables there. That's why we're pressing for this now. There is about an 8-week delivery time on these tables. So, as I mentioned before, I want to make sure that you understand that there are sufficient funds in the construction budget that is remaining to purchase these tables, so there won't be any additional funds requested. Staff recommends the council approve the purchase of 20 picnic tables from Maglan Site Furniture in the amount of $52,980. Any questions?
A couple of questions,
Okay.
if I could. Are they, those look like, I mean, it says that they're steel framed. Are they welded?
They are
So
welded.
they're not going to come apart?
No.
Are we going to mount these permanently, or will they be movable in the pavilion?
We haven't quite decided that yet. Each table weighs about 200 pounds, so they'd be hard to move. But if we see them migrating around site, we'll probably wind up mounting them to the ground.
They're good-looking tables. I like them.
I just wanted to say the recycled product usage is quite a bonus, so nice work.
Yeah.
So Brock, just another question. You're thinking maybe mounting them outside of the pavilion, so there'd be opportunities to move them within the pavilion? But if they were out, say, on a grassy area or down by a trail, would those be like put on cement blocks and hooked in so they couldn't be moved around? Or what are the thoughts?
The outlying ones we probably won't mount unless we feel like it's absolutely necessary. If they start migrating, if people feel like they can move those around to wherever we want, then we'll mount those to the ground. The ones in the pavilion, they'll wind up in lines and rows. People like to scoot them to the side so they can use the majority of the pavilion, and we'll let that happen unless we see those tables being moved further than they should be as well, and then we'll probably take steps to mount those. Does that answer your question?
No, yes.
Okay.
I like the idea of being able to move them within the pavilion. I'm just wondering, as we get farther out, if we find them being moved into other areas that may not be good as far as mowing, taking care of the grass, things like this.
Yeah.
Be in an appropriate space. But I couldn't see on the picture, are they able to be mounted with bolts? I mean, at the bottom, I didn't see.
Yeah, so we'll have to drill anchors into the concrete and mount them to the concrete through bolts. Yes.
So if you don't mind, I just have a personal point to make, and that is for the scouts in the room. I love it when the scouts come, and a lot of times we're talking about a lot of boring stuff that doesn't make sense, but it's cool that tonight you can hear us talking about something like tables at the park where your family is, maybe they'll visit and have a picnic or something. So we're buying something as a city for all of you tonight, and you can see that there's something that really affects you and your families. So I just want to shout out to William and Wes, and I'm glad that you guys came tonight. It's good to be involved. And with that, I'd like to move that we approve the purchase of these tables.
And do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Did you get which one? either Rich
It
or,
was a coin toss.
yeah, it was a coin toss. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There's none. And we're really glad we don't have to bring our own tables.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brock.
Thank you.
And we'll turn this next moment over to Chad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an application that you've seen before. If you remember back in December, we had a preliminary site plan approval for a Culver's Restaurant at the old J&L Garden Center site. Since that time, the applicant has had discussions with the Utah Department of Transportation that have resulted in a change to that site plan. This is the property. Oh, Nikki, can you hit the button for me? Thank you. We're going to show you the property. I can see it. There it is. This is the property there on US Highway 89, 500 West. This is, of course, the previous use. As far as the site plan goes, I'll show you the previous site plan. So this is what you approved back in December, which had an access approximately in the middle of the property. After discussions with UDOT, the applicant has moved that access. Let's see. I got to get the right one here. Actually had the right one there at the back for you. So the new access point, boy, this is the old one. Let me get that for you real fast.
While we're finding the right picture, I'll just make another comment that this restaurant will be exciting. This will be in the old J&L spot, but I heard they have the best custard and the best burgers.
It's pretty tasty.
Yep.
This is the new location. This is a shared access with the property to the north. So they've worked with the property owner to the north to obtain the proper easements, agreements, not only for the access, but also for some stormwater drainage that'll go across that site and into the creek to the north. A few small site changes, some parking that was added here on the south side of the building that we've asked that be designated as employee parking to avoid conflicts with some of the circulation through that site. As far as the look of the building, this is kind of what that building will look like. This was something you saw at the previous meeting. We have reviewed this. That's gone back to the Planning Commission for their review and approval. They are recommending approval of this amended preliminary and final site plan. I want to just address, there's 6 conditions in your staff report. The applicant has been working very diligently. Number 2 was completed today, so they've obtained that permit from the Utah Department of Transportation. Number 6 has been completed as far as providing an easement for 8-inch fire line through the property. The other ones are really conditions that can be completed at or simultaneously with the building permit review. So with that, the Planning Commission is forwarding a recommendation of approval for preliminary and final site plan. I'm happy to answer any questions if I can.
I would entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to make a motion that we grant preliminary and final site plan approval for the Culver's Restaurant, as has been detailed by staff.
And a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And that is approved. How many of you out there have eaten at Culver's? Anybody? Oh, did you all think it was good? Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, there's one down in St. George that I've gone to, so yeah, that's going to be a good one for us. Item number 9, and again, Chad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an application for preliminary and final site plan for a medical office building. The location is shown there on the screen. It's at 4th North, just to the west of the existing Fizz, there on 4th North, just to the south of Bountiful Junior High in our downtown zone. Just as a note, this was developed under the new downtown zoning standards that were adopted in October. I'll go through that a little bit in just a moment. The applicant has submitted a plan for this building. These are some renderings of what that building will look like. Very, very nice building, predominantly brick with really some ample windows and some trim work around there, also composed of brick and some metal elements. One notable thing that the applicant has done is that they have oriented their building so that there's an entrance onto 4th North and put put the parking to the side and rear of the building as required by that new ordinance. So it creates a very pedestrian-oriented type development. We're very happy with that. Couple of views of those elevations, again, lots of windows, brick throughout the building, very attractive building. Really not a lot more to say than that this has been reviewed again under that new ordinance, been found to meet that ordinance with just a couple of conditions which they have also been working on. Condition number 3 in particular, to provide public utility easements for Bountiful Power. Those were submitted to us today. Got a couple other things that will have to occur during construction. Maybe just as a note, just to remind you, we have a site plan review process that all of our applications go through, where it's reviewed by representatives of our fire, South Davis Metro Fire, our power department, engineering, planning, and each of those departments has a chance to review these applications and make sure they meet the applicable standards. That's gone through that process, and we are recommending approval of preliminary and final for this medical office building on 400 North.
Any questions from the council? If not, I will look. Richard, did I hear? No, you're okay?
Oh, none.
So I'll look for a motion to go forward.
So moved?
Second?
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That also passes. And Chad, you're the man
Thank you.
of the hour.
This one, I think, should be fairly quick. If you remember, a couple of years ago, the council directed staff to come up with an open space zoning designation. We did that, and we adopted our first of several open space zone map amendments to change some of our properties from their existing zoning to open space. The first one was up by the shooting range right up in this area. That property, along with Cheese Park, I'm sorry. I know I should know the name.
Hollow, Sleepy Hollow.
Twin Hollow. Thank you. That one always gets me. That was changed to open space zoning, and this is the second of those open space zone changes that we're looking at. It's a big one, and the reason that it's big is because it includes this large city-owned property that's currently zoned mountain. This is a tough one to say. It's a mouthful. I'm going to get to the right zoning designation here. Mountain Development and Watershed Protection Zone. We found, as we reviewed the standards of the MWP, that the open space standards were actually more restrictive and more protective, provided better protections, even for water quality, than what the Mountain Development and Watershed Protection Zone did. So we are proposing that this be brought into our open space zone as well. Just as a reminder on the open space zone, the primary focus on this is preservation of open space areas in the city. The uses that are allowed in this zone are very limited. They're limited to public uses, public recreational uses, trails, parks, those types of uses are what's allowed in this zone, and really nothing else with the exception of one other, which is these hillside sites make great locations for communication towers, so those are allowed in these zones as well, with approval by the City Council, of course. So with that, we are recommending approval of this. It's big, 679 acres. Besides the large 640-acre piece, there are some properties. I'm going to scroll in so you can see them a little bit better. This is the Holbrook Canyon Trailhead and the lower portion of Holbrook Canyon Trail, including the parking lot, some property that overlooks the temple, which is a hike to get to the top of that. That's one that'll make you breathe heavy. This one is the existing Agate Park, and just again, adjoining properties that connect to that open space zone. No private properties are included in this zone change. All of these are city-owned properties, and really most of them are functioning as open space. I think all of these properties are functioning as open space right now anyway. So with that, we are recommending approval of this this change in zoning to open space as described in your staff report. The Planning Commission reviewed this at their last meeting and also passed along a recommendation for approval.
I'm assuming that was a unanimous approval?
It was.
Great.
And this is a public hearing, Mayor, so we do need to hold that public hearing.
Right. So at this time, we'll open a public hearing on this item. Anyone who wishes to express themselves, please come up, state your name, where your address is here in Bountiful, and we'd love to hear from you. Okay, with that, we will close the public hearing, and we will look for action on this item.
Mayor, if there was one question that came up. We did have some members of the public at our planning commission, and one question that might be helpful for the members of the audience. There was a question about why this parcel wasn't included, that there's a disconnection there. There's two reasons. One, that's not city-owned property, and it's also outside city limits. That small red line's hard to see, but that's outside our city limits line. That's owned by the U.S. Forest Service. So we can't change the zoning because it's not in the city, but it's already functionally open space property as well. So
Good, thank you. With that, I will look for a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be happy to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2018-01, making the zone map amendments that Chad has described to open space.
Thanks, Richard.
Second.
Thank you, Kendall. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that item is approved. And we'll turn some time now over to Paul Rowland.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. For the past 44-ish years, the property here located at the center of this lovely color aerial photograph has been a beautiful garden spot. It's actually two subdivided lots in the Lakeview Terrace subdivision, but the owner has left that as a garden spot. Well, he has made his final harvest this last summer, and as a result,
You mean in this life or out of the garden?
I'm thinking
out
just
of
the
out of
gardening
that
part.
particular garden and in
Thank you
this
for the
life.
clarification.
Hopefully it wasn't anything,
that was a-
any other
A
reference.
great euphemism. I hope to one day make my final harvest as well. Thank you, Paul. Sorry for the interruption.
I was going to go with a tennis reference because of the tennis court there. It's game, set, match, but I went with the garden. Anyway, the lot has become available for purchase, and Mr. Matt Vance has approached me with the request that a large easement, which is down the west side of the lot, be at least reduced in order to make the lot a little bit more amenable for a single-family house. There are, previously, when the subdivision was first created, there were 3 utility lines down through there. This one on the west side is a storm drain line. The purple line is irrigation, and there was a culinary water line down through that easement. But the culinary water line has since been moved out and put in the road, so it's no longer there. And the need for a 33.5-foot wide easement just really doesn't exist anymore. A 25-foot wide easement gives us plenty of room to be able to get in and maintain those 2 lines with a house being built on the lot. So the request tonight is that that red strip shown on that map be released from the easement as a partial release. All of the utilities that have an interest in that easement have reviewed it and have signed off an approval for the release of that east 8.5 feet. And we bring it to the council with the recommendation that the council approve this and allow the mayor to go ahead and sign the release of that east 8.5 feet of that easement.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
I got it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That also passes. Let's see, Paul. Now, next, Lloyd, please.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Tonight I have for your consideration the approval of a reconstruction contract for 300 North Street from Main Street to 400 East. We've known that this road has been in need of some help for quite a while, but we've had some utility work to get completed. And last fall, we installed a new storm drain in that street and replaced a section of water line. Well, about 2 blocks of water line was replaced by the water department. And this spring, Bountiful Irrigation will be replacing their mains, so we'll have basically new utilities in there with the exception of gas and sewer, but, you know, we got most of them taken care of. We were a little nervous putting this together. When I say we, I mean I. Knowing that contractors have been very busy and prices have been steadily creeping up. So you'll see the engineer's estimate about $345,800, trying to reflect some of that anxiety out there in the marketplace. But we were very surprised at the bid of advanced paving to come in, you know, $80,000 under that. That was a big surprise. In fact, many of the contractors at the bid opening were shocked that they had gone that low. That's fortunate for us. If you read on through the rest of the memo, my recommendation is that we capitalize on that difference between the actual bid amount and the amount that the street department had budgeted for this project and try and accomplish a little bit more work. The curb gutter and sidewalk and drive approaches in Plat A are typically in very rough shape. And as we put the plans together for this project, we went out and identified the very minimum amount of work that needed to be done, fixing drive approaches and broken and settled sidewalk and curb and gutter. There's a significant amount that could be done along this project, but in taking a look at it, I think that by increasing the amount we'd be able to spend by about 10%, that we would be able to pick up the majority of the really bad spots and improve that section of Bountiful for those residents. Whenever you go in and rebuild a street like this, where we leave some of the improvements in place, you always wonder what is going to be in Pandora's box, because Pandora's box is there, and there'll be some things that we didn't quite expect. So I've included the provision in there to utilize another 5% as a contingency item that we would only spend if we came across some unusual condition that we couldn't address by the units that we had included in the contract itself and had to negotiate with the contractor to resolve. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah.
And
I really like the idea of spending the additional, since the bid came in significantly lower. Now, will these curb and gutter and sidewalk improvements be done exclusively along the pathway of the rebuild? Are you going to look around Plat A and find the most decrepit folks?
For this project, we would just consider the area of the reconstruction and just focus on that area. And I'd just like to point out that we'd still have, even if we spent everything, the additional 10% and the 5% contingency, we had $400,000 in the budget for this project, so there's still $95,000 sitting out there that we're not going to try and lay claim on. So, you know, perhaps the street department can put that to good work at some point, but...
Yeah. As we move towards a plaza downtown, it'd be nice to maybe rehab some of those much-needed areas. But I'd be happy to make a motion that we approve this contract and thank Lloyd for his work and get it rolling.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Chris and Richard. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Lloyd.
Thank you.
And we'll turn the next couple of items over to our city engineer, Paul Rowland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. The next two items are both amended plats in which somebody has an existing lot or a couple of existing lots in a subdivision, and they, for whatever reason, wish to or need to modify them. In this first case, the Planning Commission has reviewed a request to amend the Lewis Park subdivision Phase 6. The reason being that Mr. Rudy Larson has purchased these 2 lots. That's actually 2 lots in the subdivision, separated pretty much by what you see here as the creek. The reason for the 2 lots is that he wishes to place a swimming pool and accessory structures. Did I say that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Accessory structures on that north lot. Our ordinance requires that any accessory structures must be on the same lot as a primary structure. So in order to do that, he has to combine these 2 lots and needs to do so by doing this amended plat. There's really nothing unique about this request except that between the 2 lots runs North Canyon Creek, which needs to be maintained in an easement to provide for access for maintaining the creek. Let's see if we can find. There's a copy of the plat that is proposed to be amended, and if you notice this vacant area right through the middle is that easement which would cover that necessary access for maintenance of the creek. With that explanation, the Planning Commission sends along a favorable recommendation for amended subdivision approval of the Lewis Park subdivision Phase 6 amended with the conditions that they pay the fees, get us a title report, and that no building will be allowed in the special flood hazard area, which is basically in the creek. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Paul, what is the width on either side of the creek that'd be in this easement?
The easement, I think, is 25 feet, it's 30 feet wide. So from
15
center
on
line,
either side?
roughly 15 feet.
On either side of the creek?
Yeah, the creek meanders a little bit, but roughly 15.
So they would put a bridge or something is that,
Any crossings that they make across that creek has to be approved also by Davis County Flood Control, but yes.
yes,
that's-
okay. Davis
that's-
County, that's what I thought. Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to move that we approve this preliminary and final approval of the Lewis Park subdivision Phase 6 amended plat.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion passes, thank you. And again,
Okay, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, the second amended plat is actually a amendment of a plat that will be celebrating its 40th birthday later this year. This subdivision plat was actually approved in 1978, and most was developed. However, this cul-de-sac, 500 North Street, at about 13th East, so that you're oriented, this road along here, the diagonal road, is 4th North / Bountiful Boulevard, and this is 13th East along here. This cul-de-sac just north of 4th North has remained vacant. All of the lots around that cul-de-sac have remained vacant since 1978, when it was originally platted. Amazingly, the improvements in the subdivision, the surface improvements, curb gutter, sidewalk, and asphalt, are still in pretty darn good shape. Of course, they haven't even had a snow blower on them, so they haven't had a lot of use. Anyway, the owners of these lots are proposing to build a couple of houses in the subdivision this summer, but the houses they are looking at don't quite fit the configuration of the lots as they are laid out, so they are requesting that the lot lines be adjusted around a little bit. In looking at it, Chad and I decided that rather than do several lot line adjustment, we take care of the lot line reconfiguration and a couple of little issues that were created, let's say, when 4th North was extended through there. I have, if I can get to it, a picture of the original plat, although oriented a different direction. These are the lots around the cul-de-sac, and I have penciled in here in red the approximate location of where 400 North comes through there. When that was constructed, the city purchased all of Lot 1, you can see Lot 1 in the upper left, a portion of Lot 2, some of Lot 4, some of Lot 5, from the owners of the subdivision. That did a couple of things. It made Lot 2 pretty tough. It eliminated Lot 1 altogether, but it created a situation where Lot 4 and 5 became double fronting lots. Now, it wasn't the fault of the lots, they were already there, but 4th North really needed to go through. It was needed as part of our master plan for roads, and the owners of those lots did nothing wrong by selling that off, but creating double fronting lots. By producing this amended plat, the council can address that situation. The amended plat shows the adjustment of the lot lines up here in the top of the cul-de-sac. You see the dashed lines are where the existing lot lines are now. So these two lot lines are being adjusted a little bit. But these two lots are being combined into one lot. These were lots 2 and 3, remember? Pretty tough. This one on the corner is pretty tough. So by combining those into two, it really makes one pretty desirable lot in that situation. The Planning Commission, again, has reviewed this and passes along a favorable recommendation of amended plat approval with a couple of conditions and the exception. The conditions being that they pay the fees and get us a title report, and additionally that no vehicular access be allowed into these lots from the Bountiful Boulevard side. That's pretty reasonable and not that hard to do because it's really steep and really hard to get to those lots from here. You might be able to get onto that one, but it's pretty tough. Anyway, that will be recorded that there will be no vehicular access allowed onto those lots from the 4th North side. But the exception would need to be, and the council has the ability to grant the exception, that lots 203, 103, 104, be allowed as double fronting lots. That exception be granted. If you have any questions or just want me to stop talking, I'd be glad to help you.
Richard, did they say that was the Planning Commission was,
Yeah.
how did they vote favorably? on this?
Unanimously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Let me ask Paul a question if I could.
Sure.
For just a second. On a double fronting lot, does that mean their taxes will be a little higher because they're on two fronts?
I don't know. I don't know how the county evaluates a double fronting lot. I don't think so, but I don't know. That's the county assessor does that.
Okay, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be happy to make a motion that we grant amended plat approval for Quail Brook Subdivision Plat A with the 3 conditions listed and also the exception granted that the lots be allowed as double fronting, but not viewed as a precedent that this council is in favor of double fronting lots. And that the mayor spend at least 5 hours talking to the assessor, making sure that taxation is fair on these lots.
Yeah, yes, okay.
You can strike that last item.
Thank you. I'll be there tomorrow, Richard. A second? Good, any further discussion?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion passes. And our last item, I think it is our last item, is with our city attorney.
Once again, we find our city attorney burdened as the last item on the agenda. I don't want to cause a kerfuffle, but I think there is some good information here. I'll try to go fast, but I think it would be good for the scouts to hear some of this. We're talking, and by the way, I'm not sure why I am the one doing this, but I volunteered for it, so here I am. Engineers are excited for it. I should say I'm not sure why I volunteered for it. But the U.S. Department of Transportation announced last year that there was, I don't remember the total number, but a lot of money in grants available to various entities throughout the United States. And so the Utah Transit Authority, in conjunction with about 30 other entities in the state of Utah, decided to apply for grant money to improve local infrastructure. We were awarded that grant in the amount of about, now when I say this number, this is to be divided amongst all 30 entities and the UTA, about $20 million. And Bountiful City's portion that they would receive total, including our contribution, would be $255,000, $255,932, so just about $256,000. So what this basically means is that the city will contribute $51,000, and then we will receive the grant money in the amount of $204,000 to be used to upgrade our intersections by installing ADA compliant ramps throughout the city. You've got it there in the packet, all the various locations. But this is a great thing for the city. It will make our city more ADA compliant. ADA is Americans with Disabilities Act. It will also make our city more accessible just in general for everybody. And it's a great thing. Basically we get $200,000 to improve our city infrastructure with.
So it's like ramps at crosswalks
Correct.
for wheelchairs?
Yes.
Ramps, so like metal ramps?
Not metal ramps, just, so if there was an existing, it would be existing curb and gutter, they would actually take that out and put it in with the ramp is built into the concrete, and you're probably familiar with, you'll see sometimes they're yellow, sometimes they're orange, kind of a dimpled square area that helps with traction. So those will all be new concrete, and I don't know what you call those things, Paul, maybe you know, but.
That's called a detectable warning pad.
A detectable warning pad.
With truncated domes.
DWP.
So-
Right now, those are replaced only when we replace the existing infrastructure. So if we do a street or a sidewalk, we're required to bring those up to current ADA code. But this will provide funds to do that ahead of that schedule.
Yeah, and the great thing about it is that we already have a sidewalk repair and replace program, and we can use that money that's already funded in that fund to use for this contribution, and so there's nothing additional that's necessary.
Fantastic.
That's great.
That's incredible. Who applied for that?
That would.
Chad
Paul?
and I.
Paul and Chad?
Well,
Which
you-
again leaves me scratching my head why I volunteered for this, but hey.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. It almost equaled your salary.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Chad.
All right.
Almost.
So,
Tiger.
yeah, any further questions? A motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the stakeholder and supplemental Tiger grant as given to us by our city employees.
Second.
Thank you. Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is approved. And are there any other things from the staff?
Just one, we are live on YouTube as we speak.
Shouldn't you have told us that at the start of
No
this?
way, no
No,
way.
because they wanted
We would have
us to be
smiled
au
more.
naturel.
From, is that,
That's the all-seeing eye, yes. And Rex, what's the name of the website or the channel on YouTube? Bountiful Live. There you have it.
Bountiful Live? Okay, oh, I love that. So not Saturday Night Live, just Bountiful.
Just Bountiful
And
Live.
it's on any day.
So Rex, is this now up and running for future meetings? Is it safe to assume that we're going to be always live streaming now?
Yes.
Yay, awesome.
Thank you.
So Mayor, one of the things that,
Yes.
that we went back to DC for, that I went back and spoke specifically to Utah, is for these types of grant programs, the Tiger Grant and the CDBG money, because when we, as local entities, get access to that money, it's a lot more direct, and it allows us to do the things that we need to do, so
That
want to see
is,
that keep going.
that's wonderful. Any other things from our staff? Anything from the council?
No, thanks, everybody.
So I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're done. You lucky scouts. Normally, we're here for at least a couple more hours, and we keep you here till the end.